Money Mellow. Oh, oh, Mellow. Man, cue the music.
Vibe so right, I tell you I gotta get it. Grew so tall, though I used to be a midget.
What's up, guys, and welcome to Shit Talk, a segment where we talk about different topics under different genres that this channel covers. Alright, so for the first episode, I thought we'd cover a hot topic in the basketball community, and that topic is, if Melo were to get traded, where should he end up? Now, for this episode, I wanted to talk about a handful of teams from worst to best destinations for Melo. The way I dwindled my choices down to a handful of teams was by focusing on teams that are either contenders or on the cusp of contending and would be contending with Melo. So this immediately cut out any bottom of the barrel teams and young teams that need development and wouldn't necessarily contend with or without Melo. I also cut out teams with players at the same position that are arguably better than Melo, especially this season, and teams that look like they could contend with Melo on paper but are missing more than what Melo can bring to the table. And with that said, let's get started. Carmelo Anthony is still a great player. His ability to put the ball on the floor, pull up off the dribble, and spread the floor while also being able to play face up and back to the basket is a rare commodity in this league at the small forward position. He's also an underrated rebounder, and besides a lack of effort on defense, he's lacking very little in skill set. But what he does lack, I feel, is motivation and, to an extension, leadership. Don't get me wrong, when Melo's hot, he can be a driving force that wins games for the Knicks, and that, in a way, is a sign of leadership through action, but Melo's actions have never led his teams to the promised land. On the biggest stage, he hasn't been able to rally his teammates behind him. This is because Melo isn't the guy that's going to lead a championship team. I personally think Melo needs to be led. I see him as a Dwight Howard type of player who requires a good leader and system to be most effective. With that said, he's still a great player and would be a huge asset to any team. Now let's move on to our first destination. As a Lakers fan, I can honestly say that I enjoy watching the Boston Celtics play basketball. Their combination of ball movement, youth, and Isaiah Thomas's identity as an underdog among point guards is a great combination that would make anybody a fan of them. This team can hang with the best with them, playing inside and out. And despite a lack of interior defense, this team lacks very little overall. So where does Melo fit in the equation? Well, if the Celtics can magically get Melo to replace Johnson at the power forward position, you go from a good offense that could be potentially great to a great offense that can go nuclear at any moment. But that's why the Boston Celtics are at the bottom of my list. The prospect of having Thomas, Bradley, Crowder, Melo, and Horford on the same team in the same starting lineup is awesome. The problem is, if the Knicks have any type of intelligence, then this lineup will never come to fruition. They're not going to want Johnson, and Isaiah Thomas is going to be untouchable, so that leaves Crowder, Bradley, and Horford. And moving any of those three guys, especially Crowder, would break the structure of the team. Bradley's the best defender on the team, and Horford brings a post presence that the Celtics would lack if they added Melo, and Crowder's all-around game serves as a glue that keeps his team together. Adding Melo would be great, but at that price, the Celtics would be better off shooting their shot at someone like Hayward in the offseason. Now on to the next destination. Most NBA teams play up-tempo, fast-paced, highly entertaining basketball, but not the Grizzlies. They'd rather grind the game, go blow for blow, and make sure the game is as boring as possible. But despite lack of appeal, the Grizzlies have been one of the most consistent teams in the NBA for almost a decade. Their defense is always top tier, but that's not what Melo's for. Defense wins championships, but you're going to need offense to get there. And despite the Grizzlies making the Western Conference Finals 3 years ago, their defense was clearly not enough to win a single game against the Spurs. The Grizzlies don't necessarily have an offensive scheme. They usually just play through Conley and Gasol. Adding a dynamic scorer like Melo would ascend their offense to something greater than the team that consistently averages the least made three-pointers in the league. Not to mention his presence would take pressure off of Conley and Gasol when it comes to playmaking. I think Melo's ability could complement this team in the right way, but I do have some concerns with this choice. For one, Melo is a known slouch on defense, and that's the Grizzlies' whole identity. Add in their no-nonsense coach into the mix, and you potentially have another Melo versus coach situation, and that has never ended well. Also, Melo being inserted into the starting lineup looks good on paper, but the Grizzlies lack a competent offensive scheme. Like the Pacers, a Melo-led Grizzlies could be a legitimate threat, but if you don't know what to do with your pieces around you, you end up with an unfinished puzzle. I absolutely despise the possibility of this next destination, but I can't deny how entertaining the finals would be with Melo in the mix. If you haven't guessed the team yet, it's no other than the Cleveland Cavaliers. It may seem strange seeing the defending champs on a vid centered around teams that need an edge to contend, but according to LeBron, this may be the case for the Cavs. With the loss of Dellavedova in free agency combined with J.R. Smith being out with injury, the Cavs have been lacking that extra guy who can put it on the floor and create for themselves and or others. LeBron and Kyrie are the only players averaging over 2 assists on their team. This forces both of them to play extended minutes night in and night out. If they want to beat the Warriors, they can't have their best players running themselves into the ground. Enter Carmelo Anthony. His skills would solve their playmaking problems on top of the fact that LeBron tends to bring the best out of Melo, whether they're teammates or opposition. Chemistry won't be an issue. This is probably the best place for Melo. Probably. There's just one problem. The Cavs front office already denied the Knicks' offer of Melo for Love. Apparently they value Love over Melo, which is understandable. It shows loyalty to their recent champion. However, Melo can offer more to this Cavs team than just shooting. He's a capable ball handler, and he can create his own shot instead of waiting in the corner for a shot. I'm not sure what the Cavs are doing, but if they don't make some roster changes soon, don't be surprised if you see LeBron headed back to South Beach. So which destination is the best for Melo? Is it the youthful Celtics, the grimy Grizzlies, or is it the playmakerless Cavaliers? If it wasn't obvious, the answer is the Los Angeles Clippers. I think the Clippers bring a mixture of the Celtics' youthful play and the Grizzlies' veteran leadership. Combine that with a great coach, a deep bench, and a defensive and offensive scheme, and you're looking at a perfect landing spot for the veteran small forward. Not to mention the fact that Melo and Paul share a similar camaraderie to that of LeBron and Melo. You're potentially looking at an instant click in team chemistry. Any downsides? Well, possibly. There is a glaring one. Within the basketball community, the general consensus is that the Clippers are a legitimate contender when healthy. Out of their big three, Jordan is the only one that's been consistently healthy, and it's hurt the Clippers' chances to contend on multiple occasions. And adding Melo won't change Paul and Griffin's health, but even though he can't change their health, Melo being on the team gives the Clippers the true closer that they need during crunch time. But at the end of the day, those are just my opinions. Where do you think Melo would end up if he got traded? I don't know if the Knicks are ready to part ways right now, but one thing's for sure. If Melo keeps getting booed by his home crowd, he's going to be first in line for a one-way banana boat out of New York.